Ladies and gentlemen, now today, thanks to the hard work of legendary data miner Otriux, we are going to be having a look at the full abilities and synergies for Dr. Doom, a champion that should be arriving in some form of early access tomorrow, but we're not quite sure what the early access is yet. But this champion may be widely available from tomorrow, so we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But overall, Dr. Doom, I think it's looking really interesting. Looks like a very solid Mystic champion, especially with Mystic Dispersion and very buff heavy matchups. I think this champion has some potential to be really ridiculous, but I'm very excited, man. He's got some very interesting synergies. A lot of his synergies are solo synergies, so they only benefit him, but the solo synergy he has of himself is pretty ridiculous as well. So let's have a bit of a chat about the core abilities, and then we'll kind of break down some of the additional stuff as well. Now, starting off with Doom's abilities, we have Titanium Armor, which grants him immunity to Armor Break, Armor Shatter, and also Shock effects. Now, as far as kind of widespread immunities go, these aren't really some of the top ones that you seek out for a lot of characters. However, Armor Break, we have Vision Arcus, like that's a really good immunity to have because it prevents you from getting armor broken and thus taking cold snap damage there. And shock immunity for a newer character like Warlock with his unavoidable shock on the special one. There are uses for these immunities, and I think you know, as the game goes on, these immunities are going to be even more useful. So yeah, it seems alright for now, like a nice little effect to have there. But then we move on to his basic attacks, and this is where Doom starts to get a little bit more interesting. So if the opponent isn't already shocked, medium attacks inflict a shock, dealing, it's really a very small amount of direct damage over 2 seconds. And this is like 10% of Doom's base attacks, so not really big numbers, but it's more about the utility that the shock offers. Because if you charge a heavy attack while the opponent is shocked and you're within like striking distance, it's going to passively stun them like on Wasp for like 0.6 of a second, but this can't trigger during the opponent's special attacks. So it kind of looks like with this shock mechanic, and there is a second way to gain shock via the awakened ability as well, you're going to be able to like combo on your heavy in any matchup and get those heavy attacks in. And Doom's heavy attack has this additional piece of utility that has a 100% chance to stagger the opponent for 10 seconds, which will nullify their next buff. And Doom also has like a couple more ways to get nullify as well. So yeah, this seems pretty nice to have, man. I'm very excited to see this one in action, but I think like the 2-second shock is quite short in terms of duration, so you might have to do some funny combos to make this work. Maybe like a triple light medium straight into a heavy attack is going to be like one of the best ways to do that if you don't have the awakened ability, or very shortened combos like a medium light straight into heavy there. But it seems like a fun one to play about with for sure, so I'm curious to see how that's going to work. And then we have his Aura of Hazareth, and apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly there. So this is something that he triggers I believe off his special 1 and also special 3. However, he can't trigger this if he is suffering from a slow or petrified debuff. So there are going to be a lot of champions like Spider-Gwen, She-Hulk, I think Void and Captain America Infinity War, the synergy that can like completely counter this mechanic. So a fair few counters out there, but while he has this aura active, special 1 and special 2 attacks are unblockable and grant no power to the opponent. Light attacks grant no power and steal 3% of the opponent's current power, gaining 200% of the power stolen. So I imagine that's going to be like a lot of power denial between both of those mechanics there, because if you do like a medium and then quadruple light combo, you're only giving your opponent the power from the medium attack, and then you're probably stealing like most of that power away as well, and getting a little bit more of it back. So that seems like pretty effective for power control there. And again, you can get this aura off your special 1 or special 3, and also contact with the opponent has a 30% chance to nullify up to 1 buff. So that I think means like any contact, so even on parry or blocked hits, you can still nullify, and 30% is a reasonable chance. It's not like super high, but you know, you're gonna get a lot of nullify value from this one. And the final line with this aura seems mostly useful on defense, but it might have some practical uses on offense as well. So Doom becomes unstoppable and stun immune against the last hit of an incoming special 1, special 2, and heavy attack. Additionally, damage received from this hit cannot exceed 5% of the opponent's attack. So it prevents you from using something like Hulk's special 1 and like stunning him at the end and kind of chaining on there, and he can like instantly retaliate if he's unstoppable as well. well. So you probably don't want to throw any specials or any heavy attacks while he has this aura, or you're going to get punished big time. So just something to keep in mind there. But the special attack 1, what it does is it activates the aura for 6 seconds, and it will not trigger if the aura was already active there. And the first hit of this attack steals 10% of each full power bar the opponent has, and Doom gains 200% of the power stolen, capping at a maximum of 2 bars of power. However, the amount of power stolen increases by a flat 10% for each full power bar the opponent has, and each beam on the special one also has a 100% chance to nullify 1 buff. And I think, to the best of my knowledge and memory, the special 1 beam has like 3 hits on it, so that's like a 3 buff nullify on the special 1, which seems pretty damn good. The special 1 mainly seems like if you're playing Doom, it's going to be used for the nullify, and I think that's going to have some solid uses in some matchups. But if you want the damage, man, it's all about that special 2 and special 3 as well. So the special 2 fires off 3 beams, and each hit has a 100% chance to inflict an incinerate debuff, dealing, I believe it's about 140% of Doom's base attack as direct energy damage over 5 seconds there. So yeah, that's like 3 really big incinerates, which I think is going to combo really well with the special 3. So the special 3 has a 100% chance to inflict a passive stun for 2 seconds, which means as soon as you get out of that special 3, the opponent is going to be stunned, which is great, man, because you can just go straight in. It also activates your aura for 12 seconds, and while you have this aura active, you gain a fury buff, increasing your attack rating by, I think it's about 130% of Doom's base attack there. So you can see on a fully maxed out Doom, it's almost 4,000 additional attack, and apparently you can have a max stack of 2 of these, because again, Doom being a Mystic champion, Mystic Dispersion, you can gain so much power in certain matchups, so there's a chance you could do like back-to-back ones and gain like some crazy attack bonus there. However, it says this will always refresh at maximum duration whether or not the aura was already active there. So that's good, man. It means the special 3-1 takes dominance and will always refresh it to the full 12-second duration. But I think if you use like a special 3 and then maybe special 3 or special 2 back to back, like I want to know like if you can do like 2 special 3s and then a special 2, man, because that beam should hit really, really hard and the incinerate damage will be absolutely mega. I think you need the right matchup for it, but I'd be curious to see if you could pull that one off, because yeah, that just seems insanely fun. But in terms of Doom's kit overall, he seems like quite simple yet quite effective. He's got a lot of ways to control power, again a lot of ways to nullify, man. He's got stagger, like chance on nullify with every single hit while you've got the aura, and also the the 3 buff nullify on the special 1. So he seems like a pretty solid Mystic at his base, and also we do have Doom's Awakened ability, which seems alright, but not absolutely essential. So the first one is whenever Doom nullifies a power gain buff, he receives one himself, granting 20% of his max power over 3 seconds. So for Hyperion, Vision Arcus, this should be so good. Your power's going to go up like a crazy amount there. And if the opponent isn't already shocked whenever Doom nullifies any buff, they have a 100% chance to be inflicted with a shock debuff, dealing, it's a very small amount of damage, I think about like 25% of Doom's base attack as direct energy damage over 6 seconds. However, this interacts with the ability to absorb that shock and kind of convert into a passive stun. So yeah, I think that's going to be really useful in the right matchup, where you can just shock the opponent and like chain on from your like average like medium quadruple light straight into a heavy attack stagger for the additional damage and also the stagger effect as well. So I think the awakened ability, it's got its uses, but it kind of seems like even unawakened, Doom's going to be still like a really useful champion. Now moving on to the base stats and synergies, Dr. Doom has a very low crit rating, very low crit damage as well, which is a little bit unfortunate. The block proficiency is really good though. 70% base is absolutely phenomenal. I think when like pairing with this character, you're going to see very close to 0 damage, but he also does have like a nice chunk of block penetration as well, which is a bit of a rare stat, but always a very nice one to see. And also, if you haven't already noticed, Doctor Doom, prestige-wise, is the prestige king of this game now. He's got 10,850, which is just so much higher than, like, Thor, Ragnarok, and Namor. Like, this champion is going to be, like, definitely a character that all the whales are desperately after, man. Like, really, really good prestige there. But the base stats are alright, man. I'm a bit disappointed by the crit rating and crit damage rating. But again, being a Mystic champion, there's still some pretty crazy stuff that this character certainly might be able to do in the right matchup. Now, moving on to synergies, there is the synergy that I love that he has with himself. So Doctor Doom, I answer to no one. Attack rating is increased by 10% for each knocked out team member. So if Doctor Doom is the last team member alive, you get plus 40% attack on Doctor Doom. That is a crazy bonus, man. That is so good there. So I'm interested to see kind of what additional synergies and setups you could play around with this one. That seems like it could be really interesting. Now, the next one is with Annihilus and Diablo, and again, all of his synergies, aside from just a very generic attack node one, are only solo, so he doesn't provide benefits to other characters. He takes all the benefits for himself. So Doctor Doom, heavy attacks are guaranteed critical hits while the opponent is suffering from a stagger effect. So if you're playing fairly aggressively and keeping those staggers up, like, and just chaining them on, that's a guaranteed crit on your heavy, which could be some really nice damage, especially with the special 3 Fury. So yeah, I think that one could be a little bit interesting. Then with MODOK and also Red Skull, we've got plus 15% perfect block chance. I reckon this isn't going to be, like, super useful just because his block proficiency is already really good. So yeah, might have some uses in some matchups and scenarios though. And then we've got one with, what is it, Dr. Octopus and Mr. Fantastic here. So Shock and Incinerate debuffs have plus 20% increased potency. So not really much of a boost for the Shock, but Incinerate debuffs, this could be really good for. So I'm curious to see how effective that one's going to be, but seems like a pretty solid synergy there. Then we got this one with Doctor Strange and Symbiote Supreme. So activating his aura has a 50% chance to purify all degeneration, poison, incinerate, bleed, and cold snap debuffs. So this seems like really good, but a little bit of a gamble as well. So I'm not really too sure how practical this is going to be. Like with Mystic Dispersion, again, you can spam special ones pretty quickly in certain matchups there. So I don't know if that's really going to work out too well, but hey, it might have some uses, man. Might have some uses there. But again, it's not like a reliable way to purify debuffs, and these debuffs in the wrong scenario can eat through you very quickly. So we're going to have to see how that one works. And then I assume we got Cosmic Overload with Silver Surfer. So each time the aura is activated, Doom taps into the Power Cosmic, gaining a random buff for 8 seconds. So Fury, increase attack rating by 50%, Power Rate, increase Power Rate by 15%, or Armor, increasing Armor rating by 50% there. So really the Fury is the one that you want there, but that could be really good, man, if you get lucky in the right scenario. But you might just get, like, super unlucky and just keep on getting armor. But maybe like in a Havoc matchup or something like that, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of potential. We're gonna have to see how this one turns out. So yeah, coming soon, that's gonna be Silver Surfer there. And then we have a synergy with Morning Star. So successful nullifiers deal a burst of energy damage equal to 20% of Doom's attack. So I think if this scales with the Fury buff off the special 3, it could have some really interesting uses in buff heavy matchups to really, like, pump up the damage a little bit more. But yeah, maybe there's a little bit of potential with that one. But again, it's not the biggest burst of damage there, but might just be a nice little bonus. But overall, the synergies, they look a little bit interesting. A lot of them are very nice little bonuses, mainly to his damage output. But I think the most exciting one is the synergy with himself, gaining, like, an additional 10% attack rating for each knocked out member on your team. Again, that's a solid 40% to a lot of the numbers and values that we've already talked about today. So overall, I think Doctor Doom looks like a really solid addition to Marvel Contest of Champions. The animations look insane, and also he looks so much fun to play. I think there's going to be a lot of damage output in the right scenario. But yeah, Doctor Doom is going to be, like, much like every other Mystic champion, that if you want to see, like, some crazy stuff, you're going to need a matchup with, like, a lot of buffs to take advantage of. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of Doctor Doom in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.